Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you very much for coming today. We appreciate you all taking your time. I want to introduce Lilly May. Lilly is class of 19. 2019?
Yeah.
That's correct here. She's graduated from our Art 5 program, went to Maryland Institute College of Art, MICA, and so she's going to talk about her experience. And what I love about having alumni talk about their experiences, they have been, literally, she used to sit right there for all of these lunchtime lectures. So it's great to kind of hear her perspective of the Maggie Walker and what she can take away from that, and then what she is applying in her life now. So we had tried to get a microphone working, but I couldn't figure it out. So she'll project. Your challenge is during lunch today is to think of good questions to ask her so that when she's finished, we have a robust Q&A. Any questions before we get started? Good. All right. Thank you very much, Lilly May.
Okay, hi. I haven't publicly spoken in a while, so this is going to be a little rough. Working as an illustrator. Yippee, yay, yahoo! Who am I? My name is Lilly. Mine is Brendel Menz. I'm 20. I'm a traditional artist, mainly. I spent 2 years at MICA. I majored in illustration and minored in environmental sustainability. And I'm currently a freelance illustrator working with private clients. Achievements. I want to brag a little bit. So, when I was 16, I went to Radford University's Visual and Performing Arts Governor's School. I had a full scholarship. When I was 17, I had gallery art taught by Paul Rucker. That's my favorite one a little bit. I got into every art school I applied to with major scholarships at 17, which is RISD, SVA, Ringling, SCAD, Pratt, MICA, and MCAD, and VCU, which I forgot to put up here. I went to MICA with these scholarships, Creative Portfolio Award, Dean's Grant, Presidential Scholarship, Seymour Mandelbaum Merit Scholarship, and there was one more, but I forgot what it was called. And I also had a 4.0, and then I dropped out. I was enrolled in the Stage of Fear anthology at 19, and I've been contacted by agents and authors in regards to graphic novels. At 19 and 20, fingers crossed, they happen. My work, or my content. My work primarily features romance, found family, and horror. I focus on stories that depict LGBT and disabled life in rural settings where community and aid is incredibly important, but also difficult to access. I think healing through love is a beautiful thing, and I want to show that in what I create. I've made several small comics that range from 5 to 20 pages, and I'm an artist working in a sequential story in the Shades of Fear anthology. I'm semi-popular online as a poet as well. Art is truly my life, and I hope to tell stories with strong voices, constructions, and deep emotions. Here's an example of some of my work. I try to keep like a reasonable range. That's from a personal comic called The Invulnerable Jessa May. It's about a girl who can't die. Commission work, personal work, other personal work. I like drawing people hugging a lot, so that's kind of, my process. It differs from client to client. For each job I go to, there's a different process. For more large-scale projects, these processes are usually decided for me on a schedule. For small and private clients, I create my own process, which usually consists of being checked in on by the commissioner through DM or email at every stage of the artistic process to see if they need alterations, if I can make them. Here's from the anthology, kind of the timeline, and they gave us a very beautiful, very flexible timeline. Thanks to them.
Wow.
Script feedback, final script, thumbnails, thumbnail feedback, pencil edits, ink edits, color feedback, letters, final pages. Visual and other development. The start of a sequential project is a lot of thinking, unfortunately for me. This is a space for brainstorming, which can be both written and illustrated. Things are really subject to change during this process, whether it's with yourself or with your editor. It's the first steps of the process. Here's some illustrations from my pitch. that I built a little while ago. So yeah, it's a lot of just kind of figuring out like the plot and like how things work and stuff like that. And it's a lot of effort to bring it together, but it's rewarding when you have it all laid out in front of you. Script. Your script is a living document that you share with your editor. Here you plan out pages and dialogue. A good rule of thumb is to stick between 4 to 6 panels for each page, since that's usually what's going to fit. This is pre-thumbnail. So it's kind of just like giving yourself an idea of what the thumbnails will be or the pages will be. And you don't have to stick to it like line by line constantly, but you do. It's just nice to have a skeleton before you start building.
Huh.
Thumbnails. They're super crucial. They suck to do, but they're probably the most important part of the process.
Huh.
Yeah, it's just kind of like figuring out your little ideas and stuff and like putting all the brain work into the script that you made. Color keys. I stole this from my professor, Ashanti Fortson. They're lovely. When doing color design for a comic, the short of it is, tie your usage of color to the narrative beats of the story. If the tone is sad and dreary, use colors that reflect that for you. If the tone becomes bright and airy, even for only one page, use colors that reflect that change. So here's a portrait that I did for class with Mitski, and there were different colors, and there were edits to that stage as well, and we ended up with the final product, which is pretty cool. Pencils. It's kind of self-explanatory. It's pencils. You erase it when you're done. Inks. Again, go over the pencils. I'm sorry that all my images are so like sadness. And then colors. I work mainly in ink and watercolor, so my process might be a bit different from yours. Digital's really popular nowadays. And it's usually a bit easier to get the layers going because it's like in the program. A little thing, keep a daily schedule. It's really important to get a routine going. Make sure to sleep, stretch, and rest your body. Taking care of yourself is important. Making sure you don't develop or worsen any physical or mental illnesses is also important. Just do what you can. Drink water, eat healthy, go to the doctor, the therapist if you can. Go to the gym if you can. I go to sleep at 11, wake up at 8. I work 9 to 5. My work consists of applying to grants and agents, checking emails, and drawing. I'd say emails to drawing ratio is like 50-50. A lot of art comes down to like handling the financial end and the communication and all stuff like that. Again, your physical and emotional selves are incredibly important, so treat them the way they should be treated, which is kindly. How I get work? Through email and through DMs. Always make sure it's easy for potential clients and agents to contact you. Look out for scams. Unfortunately, there are many of them. Do not make your work email the email you sign up for things with, because then it's going to be really cluttered and obnoxious to deal with, which I learned. My prices. I'm a very cheap artist to commission at the moment. My page rate for uncolored comics is $120. For full colored comics, it's $175, plus digital revenue usually. Individual and private commissions are priced between $80 and $500, plus depending on complexity and like the license. I've done some book covers that were in the 500s. I primarily get paid through PayPal and digital invoice. Social media. Social media is important for those of you who want to become illustrators, animators, storyboarders, / commercial artists at all, etc. I personally delete and remake my social medias like semi-yearly. I wouldn't recommend doing this. It can be hard to make connections again with other artists. Right now I have like 15K on Twitter, and then before I deleted my Tumblr I had like 30K. How to get followers, post in popular hashtags. Fan art is cool, common tags, like art, character design, all that, like tag your work. It does require a little research and awareness of like the trends. Posting during times of the day where people will be on their phones, lunch breaks, work endings, so like usually 12 and 6 is what I try to stick to. Sometimes popularity just happens. I'm popular because people like the poems I write, which is like, okay. And that's all that I put in my PowerPoint. Thank you for coming. And Q&A. Yeah.
Let's give a round of applause. All right, questions. This is where you guys get to be curious.
Yeah.
So, exactly how long were you at art school, and would you say that that was really influential to where you've ended up now?
I was at art school for 2 years, and if I'm honest, it wasn't a great fit for me. A lot of the first year of art school is introducing you to to beginner concepts like color and just like photography as an idea and sort of general things like that. And I've made a lot of great friends through college, but I wouldn't say that it's incredibly crucial if you have the work effort and the drive to get yourself a good portfolio and good pictures and to keep seeking out an agent. Honestly, college for me, it was just a time period where I was figuring out what to do with like my career and with my life, and it does introduce you to a lot of different ideas and a lot of different ways to do art. And I was just applying to agents and things like that throughout college, and then once I got some more people talking back to me, I dropped. Yeah?
Would you say that social media is one of the main ways that you get like commissions and clients?
I would say so, yeah, especially for private clients. I think for social medias could be a bit smaller if you're reaching out to like agents and things like that yourself, but if you want to get like commissions, a lot of people like getting like their own personal story characters and things like that done. So usually they'll find your style and follow you for a bit and then reach out when you're like, hey, I'm like opening my commissions. Like, cause I have slots available, so I can get them done timely.
Huh.
But yeah, the bigger the social media, the more chances people are gonna see your work, and the more chances people see your work, the more chances they're gonna wanna commission you. Yeah?
How does collaboration work with this kind of field? Because like I feel like writing and drawing like that usually goes together. But like, do you collaborate with a writer or do you write your own stories?
I write my own stories for some things, like for the anthology project, I'm writing my own story, and for my pitch, I'm writing my own story. But I have been contacted by writers, and I assume, though I haven't gotten very far into the processes yet, it's a lot of calling and talking and like figuring out the story together, and then the writer works on like the bulk of the detail. But you know, it's usually just like, it's a lot of emailing, it's a lot of calling, just like whatever way you need to communicate.
I'll fill in the gaps while they're thinking of more questions. Could you talk a little bit about how you work with agents? So like, how did you find the agents to communicate to, and how did you go about presenting yourself, to them?
So for working with agents, what I did at first was go online and just Google like literary agents or artist agents or illustration agents and things like that, and just kind of like seek out those who are like coming up as popular, or those who are coming up as like within my field, because like agents usually search for genre more than they do for style, and like for age group as well. So I would just apply to those that I thought I had a chance with, and then when that wasn't working, because I think if they're in like a website and they're super popular, they're maybe not gonna, they're gonna see a lot, so it's gonna be more difficult to get in with them. I started looking for artists who had styles and content similar to me, and then I would apply to those agents that they had, and that's when I started hearing back.
So you kind of did research on artists similar to you, found out who their agents were, and then reached out to their agents. Okay.
Yes.
How did you find out who their agents were?
Usually they'll have them listed in like their Twitter bios or on their websites. Having a website's really important. So usually like there's agent there, contact emails, things like that. Or just like looking through their followers and seeing what agencies have followed them back, and then going to those agencies' pages and looking for agents that fit like the description. Oh yeah.
Especially for your private commissioners and for your comics, how do you format them? Is it something that they would hang on their wall, or is it in a book form, or
It depends on what they want. Honestly, a lot of times it's just digital copies, so they'll just get a PNG and they'll add it to their personal collection of art. Sometimes I know commissioners do plan to print them off, so I make sure that my file size is like 300 to 600 dpi, and like formatted correctly, like 8x11 or like other like normal sheets of size. And sometimes, because I work as a traditional artist, commissioners can like pay a little more tip, and I'll send the like the hard copy to them through the mail. And then when it comes to like private things for like book covers, for like vanity publishing, I think is what it's called, or like private publishing, I usually just send them the digital copy and then I do the rest. Yeah?
How did you develop the style you have now? Like, what was the sort of journey that you?
The style I have now, a lot of it was developed here. I said that you guys are like in your like, and of course art can develop at any time, etc. But like, as long as you're just like doing a lot of studies and like drawing over and over and over again, your style will find you more than you find it. It does help though if you want to like look into the artist you like and like pick out things from their style that you really enjoy and then interpret that in your own way, on your own like paper and stuff. So it's just like, it's a natural process, I think. I think we all have like inherent styles. Yeah?
Do you have any big projects in the future, or like do you have any future goals that you want to try to do with your work?
Yeah, I'm working on getting a graphic novel published right now. And I'm in the very beginning stages of the process and still reaching out to a lot of people and like seeing what's the interest in it. But I would like to get a few books published at least by the time I'm like 30. So I think that'll be fun. I'd love to be a part of more anthologies and zines and things like that. So I think like personal art is so nice. Yeah?
Sorry, talk a lot. Do you often work off of references for your art, or do you just?
I usually don't use references. I wouldn't recommend that necessarily. My visual library is pretty okay when it comes to like the human body at least. But especially if you struggle maybe with like hands or like torsos and things like that are like difficult. It's nice to like go look for licensed or like or I guess like global licensed images with Creative Commons and all that. Or just take pictures yourself or of your friends, which is usually a lot easier, and you can just like, you don't have to alter those too much to make them into your own.
I have like questions more about like your like process and how
Yeah.
it's like the business side, but like for your like when you're making like your thumbnails for like your illustrations, about like how much percentage of your time in your total like the whole project do you spend on the thumbnails as well as the script, like within them? Do you incorporate script within your thumbnail?
The script takes a good while. I'm not the fastest writer personally. I know that others have like an easier time with it. But for me it's like hard to conceptualize with words. So that takes like, out of like a total project, maybe 20% of the time. And then thumbnails take like 5%. Like, cause again, you're making these thumbnails as like a way to just get ideas out really fast. So when you're making thumbnails, you can't be married to anything too much. Like you can't like work for hours and hours on a single thumbnail. Like you just like, oh, that page looks bad. I'll try it again. I'll try it again. I'll try it again. I'll try it again. And eventually you'll get something that you like. So it's just like, it's a very fast process. Or at least I try to make it fast because I'm not a biggest fan of drawing thumbnails. Yeah?
Oh, and then I just have one more question.
Yeah.
This is like, this is more about like your poems, like use and like illustrations with your poems. I was very interested in that, and I was like wondering, do you usually illustrate like draw like something like that's like in your mind and then make the poem, or do you usually base your illustrations on?
With poems, I do a lot of like very, I guess it's more abstract. So I usually just either write the poem like really quickly, or I write it as I draw, and then I just like try to tie the images in together a little bit. It's not like the best process. I could probably clean it up a lot, but I don't know, it's like fun. Yeah?
When doing your thumbnails, is that like, do you like actively think about composition and stuff in that stage, or?
Yes. Thumbnails, what you really want to get in is like, cause with thumbnails they're small and they're quick, so it's like gesture drawing, which I'm sure you guys have done. So it's like you want to see how it like your characters and your compositions move the page along. So if you plan for like a scene with like a lot of action, you want those panels to be short, so it's like continuing on, and then that adjusts how you draw the bodies and things like that. But if you want like more like of an emotional panel, you're gonna like stick more to close-up frames and like larger like breaths for the reader, and maybe bigger gutters as well within the comics. So I guess for thumbnails, the biggest thing about them is not getting in like details of the comic or thing like that, but it's like you have to think about flow, and like also it's important to work in thumbnails. This is an addition as spreads. So the 2 pages that are going to be facing each other when you make a comic, you want to make sure those pages aren't like super similar or like incredibly contrasting, unless like that's the direct message of the story. So thumbnails is like for that baseline work or that base work. So I think they're very important when it comes to like composition. But you don't have to like do it in detail. You could just make shapes, honestly, and it'll be fine.
I have a question. So one of the things that I've always loved about your drawing is your ability to draw the figure and to make the figure feel natural and in motion. How did you get to that level of figure drawing? Was there a process or a series of steps or a resource that was helpful?
Honestly, I just really hate faces. A lot of people draw a lot of portraits when they're young. I wouldn't. I would draw the body and I would draw the hands and stuff because I just did not like faces. I would just put a smiley there. So kind of me avoiding what I consider to be complicated has resulted in better figures. But I'd also say that like observing around you the way people are built and like the way people move is really important. Like you don't have to be drawing to be studying, and you can study all the time. So like if you're in class or anything like that, if you want to draw better figures, just like don't be creepy about it, but like be like observant of everything, and like break people down to their shapes, and that really helps. And also if you build like Tommy, right?
Yeah, Tommy Van Auken, yeah.
Yeah, if you build the figure from the inside out, that also helps. I like to think of it like when you're doing like a clay pot and you're going around the inside, kind of like that for feeling out the figure. So it's just like, I don't know, just like practice a lot. Yeah?
What's your favorite part of what you do?
I like the inking. I think it's really fun. I get really like hands-on with it. Yeah, it's just like I always have a lot of fun with the inking process, and then when I'm done with that and I have to color and like shade and stuff, I'm like, oh man, what have I done to myself?
So how do you decide on like using like watercolor or pencil as your primary materials?
Well, initially I was like, that looks really pretty, and then I wasn't good at it, and I was like, okay, I'm abandoning this for a while. And then I got into college, and I got into like later in high school, and I had my own money, and I was going to art craft stores and things like that, and I was like, wow, tablet's really expensive. And then I was like, wow, paint is really expensive. And ink and watercolor, you can get like ink and watercolor for like $2 to $5, and like that's great for me. So it kind of like was just like about like I guess, and then I fell in love with it. So like I don't know, it's kind of like a little funny, I guess. But I really like it. I like the texture it gives me. I don't like digital because I can't like mess it up with my hands or my fingers. And also I don't like repeating art. Like I have a lot of trouble penciling and then inking. So usually I'll just go like this. I didn't do a lot of penciling before it. So usually I'll just go straight to ink. And ink's very unforgiving. So it reminds you that like everything's possible and that you can start over. And I do it a lot. So it's just like, I don't know, it's fun. But yeah.
Do you work with the sort of standard comic book pages paper for your layouts, or do you use just paper, sketch paper, and then when you're doing the paperwork, is that then, you may have already addressed it, but is that handed off to be compiled, or do you digitally make your books?
I compile it myself. So like when it comes to composition and things like that, I use Clip Studio Paint, and I just go in there and I edit canvases and I add guidelines and things like that. It's a lot cheaper than Photoshop and it works just as well, I'd say. But when it comes to like paper, I'm not super picky. I usually just go after like whatever is like on sale, and then I fit it into the compositions later, or I measure out the paper. Because with traditional, it's always fun because you can draw any size you want as long as you scan it at a correct DPI and then transfer it onto like what it's supposed to be, and it can be as big or as small as you need it to be. So it's just like it's very versatile, I think.
Last question?
I have a very specific question about this piece. What did you use to get the highlights and like the drips on the line? Like what material is that?
Oh, the highlights?
Yeah.
That is like whiteout, like a whiteout pen. So for that's the highlight. That's so cool. Thank you.
Let's give Lilly a big round of applause.
I hope you enjoyed today's lecture. Please make sure you follow Lilly on what? Twitter?
Twitter, I think.
Twitter and Instagram and all that. This is a small thank you gift for coming today, and we appreciate that's this year's shirt. So
That's
we're
so
excited.
cool.
I know we're excited about that. Guys, thank you so much, and then we'll see you in the fourth quarter for our last lunchtime lecture. Thank you. Yay! That was so great. Thank you so much.
Sorry if my talk's crazy stuff.
That was great. No. I'm gonna hit stop on the thing real quick.
Okay.
Bloop, bloop.
Thank you.